Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're looking at the creepiest spots that the creepiest series has to offer. With at least 10 mainline entries, Resident Evil has a huge selection of scary locales, and I'd like to talk about them. These are 20 disturbing locations in Resident Evil games. Let's go. Before we continue, we publish content all week long, so be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified of our latest videos. The Hidden Bastille, Resident Evil Code Veronica. The Hidden Bastille is basically Nosferatu's cozy little dungeon Airbnb, complete with chains, creepy lighting, and an oversized axe for ambience. Claire first spots this nightmare room from the director's office, peering down like, nope, not going in there. The place is mostly dark except for one spotlight that screams something terrible is about to happen here. After Claire's showdown with Alfred Ashford in the mining room, Nosferatu decides he's had enough spa time. He breaks free, tosses the axe aside like a toothpick, and storms out by literally destroying the door. So even though you can never visit the room yourself, you do get an eerie look at the place Nosferatu spent many years chained in agony. Ugh, yucko. Kijuju, Resident Evil 5.
Shifting the balance of power throughout the region. People in the destabilized areas soon feared another incident like Raccoon City was inevitable.
Kijuju in Resident Evil 5 is disturbing because it takes what should be a sunny, bustling African town and turns it into a full-blown nightmare, with the disturbance factor bumped up by 200% when you remember these were just regular people before they got zombie COVID. The markets, homes, and happy chatter are gone, replaced by parasite-infected townsfolk. The scariest part, it's all in broad daylight. No shadows to hide in, just pure, oh great, I can see exactly how doomed I am.
To Africa. My name is Trevor Alama.
Chris Redfield.
Heisenberg's Factory, Resident Evil Village. Heisenberg's Factory in Resident Evil Village is disturbing because it's basically Frankenstein's workshop meets a junkyard nightmare. Every corner rattles, clanks, and groans like the place itself is alive and probably angry about it. You're surrounded by mutated cyborg experiments that look like Heisenberg got drunk and said, yeah, chainsaws for arms sound cool. The industrial setting oozes filth and despair with conveyor belts of horror and sparks flying. The factory's cold metal aesthetic and endless machinery makes it feel sterile and scary. The Lake, Resident Evil 4. The Resident Evil series usually builds fear through tension and suspense, but in RE4 they went for large monsters. In Resident Evil 4, Leon Kennedy has to cross a lake guarded by a monster that looks like the Loch Ness Monster's roided up cousin. Sure, on paper that doesn't sound too scary, until you're in a tiny boat, hearing something massive splashing under you. If you're not scared of the ocean, move on. If you are, you get it. It's disturbing, man. The Queen Zenobia, Resident Evil Revelations. Many fans argue that Resident Evil Revelations was Capcom's "We're sorry" letter after Resident Evil 5 and 6 went full Fast and Furious mode. This game dragged the series back to its survival horror roots, with BSAA agents Jill Valentine and Parker Luciani boarding the cruise ship Queen Zenobia, a place so creepy it makes the Titanic look like Disney World lost at sea with no escape. The ship's dark corridors ooze atmosphere and probably mold. Just when you think it's empty, surprise. Rockford Prison, Resident Evil Code Veronica. Picture this. You're trapped in a gloomy graveyard armed with nothing but a flickering lighter that barely lights your next panic attack. You tiptoe past decaying tombstones when, bam, a rotting hand shoots out of the dirt like it's auditioning for Thriller. You've got no gun, no backup, and your best plan is don't die. Welcome to Rockford Prison, the nightmare timeshare of Resident Evil Code Veronica. The Laboratory, Resident Evil. Umbrella's underground lab is the perfect finale from hell for the Resident Evil 1 remake. Just when you think you've seen the worst, this corporate nightmare hits you with more horror than a Stephen King marathon. The place is a biohazard buffet with body bags on tables and more hanging from the ceiling like Christmas decorations. Then come the modified zombies, better known as the naked zombies. These slimy gym bros of the undead world sprint after Jill and Chris with all the grace of a wet ham, making this lab one of Resident Evil's most disturbing locations.
No! Hey! No!
The Morgue, Resident Evil 2. Without monsters, a morgue is disturbing by nature. This is even more so when it's designed by Capcom's finest sadists. When Leon and Claire stroll into this cheery little room in Resident Evil 2's remake, it's basically an all-you-can-scream buffet of dread. The metal drawers lining the walls are less storage and more zombie vending machines, each one hiding either a key item or a date with teeth. Every time you pull one open, you're gambling. Will it be a rotting corpse, a colony of roaches big enough to jump into, or nothing at all? Somehow the best option available.
Oh!
Private Residence, Resident Evil Code Veronica. Dolls. Goddamn dolls. Unlike Alfred's military-themed palace, his private residence in Resident Evil Code Veronica looks like what would happen if a doll collector went completely off the deep end. Every room screams, nope, filled with porcelain dolls, creepy toys, and one gigantic mutilated doll hanging in the main hall. Welcome home, here's a 6-foot nightmare with extra limbs. The place feels disturbingly personal, like you're trespassing in someone's breakdown. And unlike Umbrella's sterile labs, this house oozes twisted intimacy. Too clean, too quiet, too wrong. Castle Prison Cells, Resident Evil 4. Gothic architecture and horror go together like peanut butter and existential dread, a combo that never misses. The castle prison cells in Resident Evil 4 are the perfect setting to serve up one of the most pants-wetting boss fights in gaming. Leon and Ashley wander through the damp, echoing dungeon only to meet the Garrador, a hulking nightmare with his eyes sewn shut and claws sharp enough to julienne your spine. I had to Google the term julienne, but I'm glad I put it in this video. The Guest House, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. Resident Evil 7 Biohazard kicked the door and screamed, "Remember horror? It's back, baby!" After years of explosions and suplexes, the series returned to its roots with a first-person twist. The Guest House is the perfect opening to this nightmare. Busted furniture, rotting food that's probably still moving, and enough bugs to make an exterminator cry. Things get worse when Ethan finds a VHS tape and watches a ghost-hunting crew explore the place, right up until the basement scene turns into a snuff film. This is where the Guest House becomes disturbing because everything you just watched happened right where you're standing. Now, get the hell out of there. Lisa's Cabin, Resident Evil. The Resident Evil remake didn't just polish the mansion, it said, hey, what if we added something even worse? Enter Lisa Trevor, the world's most tragic and terrifying hunchback fashion icon. Her cabin might not look too scary at first, just a cozy fire, a few blood-soaked bandages, and enough cobwebs to stop a full-grown man. But the mood shifts fast when Lisa shows up, dragging her shackled arms. Once she lumbers into view, disturbance isn't a question, it's a reality. Raccoon City Police Station, Resident Evil 2. The Resident Evil 2 remake dragged players kicking and screaming back into the Raccoon City Police Department, a place they hadn't spent much time in since the 90s. Playing as rookie cop Leon or worried sister Claire, you quickly realize the whole city's gone to hell, and the police station is no exception. The only other survivor is Marvin, who lasts about as long as a wet match. What makes this location more disturbing is how the whole place is paused in time, showing you that the zombie takeover must have happened in an instant. And then there's Mr. X. Nope. Bye. The Old House, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. As if surviving the Baker Mansion and dear old Jack wasn't traumatizing enough, Resident Evil 7 decides to crank the nightmare dial up to Bug Buffet with Marguerite's old house. The bridge leading there is charmingly decorated with creepy old dolls, letting you know you're entering a disturbing hellhole. From there, it's all downhill into an insect lover's paradise, or everyone else's nightmare. Marguerite's got a real thing for bugs. We're talking walls, ceilings, hives. It's basically a zoo for wasps.
Stay the out!
The Regenerator Lab, Resident Evil 4. There's little scarier in Resident Evil 4 than walking through the facility's dark and oppressive passages, only to see a regenerator lumbering towards Leon. The Regenerator Lab introduces these seemingly unstoppable enemies. Leon finds himself in a lab with blood dripping down the walls and a frozen body of a man on an examination table with a creature posed on top, ready to attack. Regenerators attack with their twisted, sharp-toothed grins and glowing red eyes, and it sucks. The remake took them to a new level, and we all hated it, and also kind of loved it. Raccoon City, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Resident Evil 3 Nemesis introduced everyone's favorite walking stress test, the trenchcoat wearing rocket launcher toting Nemesis. This 7-foot rage machine has one goal: wipe out every last STARS member, and Jill Valentine is next on his hit list. Players quickly learn that fighting him is about as effective as throwing a paperclip at a freight train, so running is usually the best and, I guess, only option. And it's the disturbing, flaming ruins of Raccoon City where all this running takes place. Jill sprints through burning buildings, infested alleys, and zombie-choked streets, all while Nemesis crashes through walls like the Kool-Aid Man from hell. The city streets offer zero safety and maximum chaos. Main house, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Where am I? What the hell?
Rise and shine, sleepyhead. It's time for supper.
Resident Evil 7 isn't just scary, it's the kind of game that makes you check under your bed for monsters. The dinner scene with the Baker family is an all-you-can-scream buffet of horror. Ethan wakes up tied to a chair, surrounded by what looks like a 5-course meal from a nightmare. The Bakers, ever the gracious hosts, even try to feed him a special bite. Once Ethan escapes, things get somehow worse. Jack Baker stalks the halls like a southern dad who just found out you dented his truck. Supplies are scarce, nerves are fried, and your only real weapon is prayer.
Did my daddy give you a hard time?
That's your father?
The Village, Resident Evil 4. It's impressive when a game manages to terrify you in broad daylight, but Resident Evil 4's opening Village does it so well you'll never trust sunshine again. Leon rolls into town expecting a chill European getaway, only to find the locals hanging corpses on bonfires like Korean barbecue. Within minutes, he learns the hard way that everyone in the village wants him very dead. Pitchforks, torches, and all. Then there's the guy with the chainsaw, because apparently no horror is complete without one. The Village introduces us to a new rhythm for the series and a new disturbance in the Force. House Beneviento, Resident Evil Village. Obviously, this was going to come up, and if you've played it, you get it. Resident Evil Village wrapped up Ethan Winter's saga with him having to face the 4 lords, each more unhinged than the last. But House Beneviento? That's the real no thanks factory. Between the hundreds of dolls staring at you like judgmental toddlers and the hallucinations that make you question your sanity, it's nightmare fuel. Oh, and that giant crying baby mutant crawling after you? Yeah, good luck ever sleeping again. The backstory is disturbing, the front story is disturbing, and the side story, yeah, pretty disturbing. Spencer Mansion, Resident Evil.
I don't know what happened.
Barry! Where's Barry?
For our final entry, we're going back to where it all began. The Spencer Mansion in Resident Evil 1 is the ultimate creepy playground. At first glance, it looks like a fancy luxury estate, chandeliers, grand staircases, and enough ornate furniture to make a royal swoon. But then you realize it's basically a gilded death trap. Fixed camera angles hide monsters lurking just off screen, turning every corridor into a potential jump scare roulette. Zombie dogs crash through windows, spiders lurk in corners, and giant snakes slither where you least expect them. It's the kind of place where even the curtains could jump scare you. Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from MojoPlays and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of our latest videos.